years ago, a dream was born in the heart of the Sunshine State. A voice to inform, a voice to educate, a voice to unite our people. From humble radio waves that began as Ondo State Broadcasting Corporation to television screens that followed as Ondo State Television, and through years of merger, demerger, restructuring and renewal, that dream grew into the institution we proudly know today as Ondo State Radio Vision Corporation. From modest studios to statewide broadcast power, this is a story of dedication, resilience and transformation. A story born in Ondo State but heard across generations. Today, we celebrate 50 years of service, honoring the past, celebrating the present, embracing the future. This is Osrc at 50. This is the story of Ondo State Radio Vision Corporation. Osrc at 50. Before Ondo State was born, broadcasting in the old Western region was controlled from Ibadan through Western Nigerian Broadcasting Service and Western Nigeria Television. These institutions were pioneers of African broadcasting, known for discipline and professionalism. When Ondo State emerged, sons and daughters working in Ibadan faced a choice: remain in comfort or return home to build something new.
When the state was created on February 3rd, 1976 by Murtala, the people that were working at Western State that time with WNBS, WNTV, with the headquarters at Ibadan, move down, especially, not all, some stayed back, but those that had that interest in mind to come back to their state came to Ondo State. And gradually, the process was gradual. 1976, 1977, 1978, those are the 3 key years that the coming and then the restructuring, taking proper shape of the Ondo State Broadcasting Corporation was as at that time.
Many chose to return, starting with modest studios, limited transmitters, and unstable power supply. Broadcasting began producing local content. Studios were set up at Obaile, administrative.
We have a station at Ifaki, which was an annex to Ibadan. So it was that same link that we were using. Even along that same line, programs were still being produced, even at Ibadan, because that linkage was still there as at that time, before we started RC, which is now FRCN, Federal Radio Corporation. On radio, let us go back, either for us to go to the north or to go to Lagos or back, and then we had to move to join, so that the workforce and new performances will be geared up for a better performance. So that was how.
When we came back from the office complex, all of us, Jam Park. By the time we realized it, the studio was ready at Obaile, supported and rushed by the government. So we decided to open the station, because by the time we realized it, the studio was ready at Obaile, supported and rushed by the government. So we decided to open the station, because we were relaying WNBS, WNTV. So we see where our first director of engineering, Adeomo Oni, was resident. We were there. Midnight, I was on there. Heralding, I was on there. Heralding the coming of a new radio station in Ondo State. So we were blasting the news that we are on there. We are doing test transmission. Wherever you are, if you can pick us up, comment on the quality of the sound you are picking and all the rest. I was surprised in the morning. By 7 in the morning, the whole compound was jam packed with people. People who are curious, radio care in Ondo State, and they want to see. We were promoting the equipment at Rabata, big equipment. And so they want to see those people who are also talking on radio. Are they human beings? We thank God. We are welcome.
Engineers climbed mast, producers doubled as presenters, staff slept in the station when duty demanded. Broadcasting was not just a job, it was service, it was all about passion.
As at that time, initially, program and news were together, and Baba Shaman Mao Olotu, before he moved to news, to head the news, and then our Oga Agbola Ogedengbe also was there. But the general manager at that time was Ogungbade, who was our general manager, and he was also casting the news, especially major news. While later our controller Jaye Kuye was also reading the minor news, until later when he also doubled to be reading the major news. But since Mr. Agbola Ogedengbe was ahead of him, he was next to him, Mr. Oluboroko next to Ogedengbe, Mr. Ojo Olakpe next to Oluboroko, Sister Doni Fagbaibo next to Ojo Olakpe, on and on. All of us were producers, presenters. We were doubling, doing all programs, because at that time, that of jack of radio broadcasting was received, because especially from NBC, FRCN, we attend training upon training, and when you go for training, by the time you come back, it is promotion. That is the style with the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, now FRCN. So from there, successfully, managers came, managers will leave, and then those of us that were around were going by promotion on and on.
To cooperate with us to come into programming, and it was Ondo to come into programming, and it was Ondo Ekiti. There was state. So we have cultural layout. They were rich enough to promote program for us, and the equipment was rich enough to promote program for us. And the equipment wise, we were using your standard. People want to meet us, people want to see us. If I want to come and say, let's go out and come back. So it was tough. But programming was exchange program. So we produced a little bit here, and time will now open fully our during production went down. Became independent and were producing and presenting our programs live. I was also lucky to have become the first DJ. The next were on air Tuesday, October 12, 1976. Thereafter, second day, the first newscaster came on. Tayepuya was the first newscaster, news brief. But at 7 o'clock in the evening, Media News Bulletin, the first one, was read by Ayo Ogunlade, the first general manager. Thereafter, Duni Fagbayibo, now the Duni Okufure there, now Fagbayibo, was the first female voice on the radio. We brought jingles from Ibadan. What a beautiful station. Fine and fine. And in natural fact, in 1979, when Obasanjo was on tour of the Federation for farewell visit, he kept calling Nakwe. We have just bought our OB van. We use that OB van to train all the program to cover effectively, not knowing that he himself was listening to West South Sea. We didn't know. So when he said, okay, I'll go to Oba to see that small station, he came. So at the reception, where he had to make a comment, he simply wrote, and I quote, "A beautiful thing in the jungle."
From those early efforts, Ondo State Broadcasting Corporation began shaping identity, culture, and public conversation across the state. By 1982, television broadcasting expanded the state's media footprint. What started as a radio service evolved into a radio vision structure, later becoming Osrc. Studios were modest, equipment was analog, cameras such as Ikegami Studio and field units stood heavy on tripods under hot tungsten lights. Recording was done on pneumatic cassette decks with tape spools carefully labeled and stored. Vinyl disc players and reel-to-reel recorders handled music beds and sound effects. Linear editing suites required patience. Cuts were made tape to tape.
When television started, and that was in 1981 when the proper planning started for television, OSTV, Ondo State Television. It took off in 1982, and then it was there that arrangement was made as to who and who will go to the television.
With the GM, the engineer A.S. Omasole, was the first GM of OSTV, that we are behind OSTV. First the GM. So we were the journey was going on like that. But later, there are some series of problems like those are recent by then. So the engineer Martin was deployed to police. Babalola was the radio, then was deployed to Ministry of Information. So that is that. Later, another GM came, a series of GM worked there. I think I passed through so many of them, but I was in transmitters. But then, so we were carrying the job. The job was gone. I was spent all my life in transmitters. I left from 1 kilowatt transmitter. We started 1 kilowatt with the station. 1 kilowatt transmitter at together. That's television. 1 kilowatt. So, in 1923, we started at Otabele with a Marconi transmitter. So, later we had problem with Marconi transmitter. The state government bought Townsend. Later they bought Harris transmitter. So, I left transmitter before I retired at the station.
Well, the strategies we used in those days was by doubling up our client servicing activities. That means going on visits to manufacturers, agencies, and our direct clients around the Ondo State.
Jingles and things like that.
Like many public institutions in Nigeria, OSRC faced difficult years. Government subventions reduced, commercial broadcasting became necessary, marketing struggled with delayed payments, promotions stagnated, some broadcasters were redeployed into ministries, political interference appeared. There were years when staff remained on one grade level for a decade, yet OSRC survived because its foundation was strong. Discipline, training, and professional ethics endured. Even in hard seasons, the station stayed on air. Later, the institution has evolved into the OSRC Media Group, comprising OSRC TV, Sunshine 96.5 FM, Alalaye, Orange 94.5 FM. The organization has been masterfully steered through a tapestry of leaders, each weaving their unique thread into the organization's enduring growth. Under the guidance of the current Director General, Chief Executive of Ondo State Radio Vision Corporation, a structured reform agenda has delivered measurable progress. 24-hour transmission across radio and television platforms, investment in independent and reliable power supply, and the backup system.
Well, it's about, you can't. I grew up knowing before I went overseas, knowing that television will open by 4 p.m. and they will close by. We all rush to our, father's houses and go and quickly watch television. And but I think over time, maybe the leadership that have been here didn't understand the growth of the broadcast industry, and then the advent of the social media. People don't wait for information anymore. It comes to you instantly. Therefore, if you must play in the industry, you must play along the trend and the technological advancement in the industry. And that, to me, was one of the reasons I said, look, we can't be doing what you used to do before. You open by, I think, about 6 o'clock, and you close by maybe around 1, 2, and then you come back again later in the day. I know it had to do with power in terms of energy, but the fact of the matter is that there's no way I could be here. I have a lot of friends in the industry, and so many of them that knew that I've been here, all right, they'll keep asking me questions, because if I didn't do what I had to do, they would think that I just came here to waste my time, because I run the same brand outside there. So why do I need to come in here and operate from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, close down? What will you be doing at that time in the first place? Some people will go to the farm. Some people will go to offices and go and sell wares because there's nothing to do. So we had to embark on that 24 hours thing in line with what is going on, the global trend in broadcasting. And I think we're succeeding. When we started planning for, the governor gave me a mandate to turn around the place. The place was almost dying. But it may not be the fault of the previous person. Maybe funding, I don't understand. But then you need to be innovative when you find yourself anywhere. So I needed to be innovative. So when I first came in, I knew that if I wanted to do 24 hours, I needed power. And what we did, that within 1 month, we were able to connect to National Grid. That gave us a bit of understanding that we can actually do something. And then we needed to do what you call, even if you have power and you have your system, that your transmitter shut down at a particular point by, PACN, and then you have to change from that to generator. It's a lifetime. So we needed to just do at least, a UPS for the transmitter, which we achieved. But we are still working on getting the one for all the studios all ready so that everything will be seamless.
Rehabilitation of studios, transmitters, and critical broadcast infrastructure, strategic onboarding on the Moplex digital cable platform, expanding cable audience reach, preparations ongoing for onboarding on DSTV for wider satellite distribution.
The Moplex was able to onboard us in their own system because we are doing 24 hours. If we were not, maybe they wouldn't even listen to us. Then there are other free TV that are talking to us to be able to get into the platform. And that is the only way we can compete, because people can see us now anywhere in the world. Right? In terms of other multi-choice, we have been on it for a while. However, there are so many applications, hundreds waiting for more, but we've gotten an offer, which I'm going to present to Mr. Governor. We've gotten an offer all right, to actually take a channel from the multi-choice. That offer, we are discussing it. We need our engineers to go and see whatever they are going to do for us. Then we also have a consultant that has been working on this thing. Our request is on the table of the channels manager, the person that will allocate channel. So we want to be sure that, you know, we don't lag behind in what is going on technologically in the broadcast industry, and that's the only way we can play. You can't tell somebody you are closing down at 4 o'clock and then you expect them to come and say, okay, my advert will run at 2. That's the schedule, and you say you are not on air. They won't even come to you again.
Digitization of the station's archival library, converting legacy tapes, VHS and analog recordings into secure digital assets for preservation and future content creation, resolution of long-standing staff promotion delays and improvement in workforce morale, renewed staff training, retraining and professional development programs, strengthening of newsroom credibility through improved editorial standards and faster news delivery, expansion of documentary production on governance, security, culture and community development, improved digital presence through online streaming, social media engagement, and multi-platform distribution. These reforms have stabilized operations, preserved institutional memory, and positioned OSRC for a competitive digital future.
Founding fathers, when they brought this whole broadcasting from Ibadan, when the Ondo State was formed, they had a vision, and they actually invested a lot in setting up this place. But you know, over time, like government maintenance issues and things like that, they crippled a lot of things. But for me, there's no way I can operate in such environment, and which is why we are doing what we're doing. We have to be able to be seen anywhere in the world, and we have to be able to broadcast content that people can see. And we're working on content every single day to ensure that people, you know, can. You make the people in Ondo State at least will make us their first choice of broadcast stations. I think we are getting there first. You know, because the staff, they are the human capital that is driving the entire process. So they come first. Then I think they've embraced our philosophy, and change has come. And I think they are happy. They are happy in the sense that you don't go study broadcasting and just come and sit on the table and not doing anything. It's not, you know, you lose track of what's going on technologically overseas, anywhere in the world. So I think the staff now are busy. They are on 24 hours, you know, changing staff and all of that. So I think that has helped in sustaining what we have. Now, for the people, I just believe that in those states, citizens or those state indigenous need to believe in us. This is not a fluke. This is a reality. OSRC, all the brands are a reality of today, and we want to compete, and we are competing very, very well. But what they need to do is that, especially to advertisers, we've just rebranded many things. For instance, when we came in, we didn't have a marketing department that we call it marketing department. We built a house for them, all right? And today, you can walk into that office, you will see it competing with any marketing department anywhere in this country. And the people are happy. Those are some of the things we've brought. I'd like to ask, you know, maybe appeal really to government. When somebody in OSRC has reached their peak, why can't they be permanent secretaries? All right, somebody has been DFA at level 17 or 18 or whatever, and you say because you're an MDA or whatever it is, you retire just as a director.
Veterans watching from retirement see in these reforms a reminder of earlier structured professionalism. 50 years on, broadcasting in Ondo State is more than a parastatal. It has trained generations of media professionals across Nigeria, preserved culture and language, informed citizens through political transitions, adapted from analog to digital technology. The microphone that went live at midnight in 1976 did more than announce a signal. It announced identity. Through military regimes, civilian governments, funding shortages, analog tape, and digital transition, the signal never went silent. Generations grew up hearing familiar voices at dawn. Communities heard their names mentioned on air. Families gathered around radios and televisions. That is institution building. The next 50 years demand innovation. Digital broadcasting must be strengthened. Archives must be preserved. Youth must be trained. Content must reach global audiences. Technology will evolve, but the mission remains to inform truthfully, to educate responsibly, to preserve culture faithfully, to serve the people of Ondo State. To the engineers who climbed transmission masts, to the broadcasters who spoke into vintage microphones, to the marketers who knocked on doors across towns, to the administrators who held the system together. Your sacrifice built this legacy.
It is the 7th convocation ceremony of the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo. 771 graduates, 598 undergraduates, and 173 postgraduates, among which 33 earned first-class honors. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, visitor to the university, described the 771 graduates as product of a globally relevant institution, training medical and health professionals to transform healthcare in Nigeria and beyond. He recalled UNIMED's establishment as a visionary move that positioned Ondo State as a leader in African medical education and research. Reiterating healthcare as a priority, the governor stressed that no health system can exceed the quality of its workforce.
This convocation ceremony today marks the reward for years of discipline, sacrifice, resilience, and intellectual rigor. That is for the graduates. You have earned the right to be celebrated. Therefore, on behalf of the government and good people of Ondo State, I congratulate you wholeheartedly. You are graduating from a specialized institution of global relevance. I am pleased to note the university's expanding academic programs, improved infrastructure, and growing reputation within and outside the country. Healthcare remains a top priority of our administration. Recognize that no health system can rise above the quality of its manpower. This is why our government remains committed to supporting UNIMED in its mandate to train competent, ethical, and compassionate medical professionals.
The governor reaffirmed his administration's commitment to promptly release subventions to the university hailing the institution as a source of pride. While calling for sustained support to fuel its growth, Governor Aiyedatiwa reiterated his broader agenda for human capital development and urged the graduates to view their certificates not just as qualifications, but as a summons to selfless service.
I also encourage you to explore opportunities for research, innovation, and entrepreneurship in healthcare.